this is very important. We need to understand the players in this business. I know that many of you guys, you want to become, independent freight dispatchers. Maybe you want to become a carrier. Maybe you want to become, brokers, maybe broker agent. Guys, there are $800 billion industry. There's a lot of money for everybody. So if you want to make money within this business, you can. Absolutely. But I think the players in this business, very, very important. I want to show you, there is a comment, and I will be, sharing my screen with you in a minute. This will be, by the way, an absolutely amazing live stream today. You will learn so many things, and I think this will help you in your business. But I definitely recommend taking notes, because I will be sharing business models. I'll be talking about and comparing the business models for brokers. Maybe you have this question why? Why am I learning this? Why this learning the business models for brokers, or the thing that you're about to share with us? Why is that important? Guys, this is very important, because if you're a trucker, meaning if you're a carrier, maybe you're an owner operator, maybe you're a broker, this will help you identify your business model. Obviously, maybe you don't know about this. And specifically for independent freight dispatchers, this video designed for independent freight dispatchers, carriers, I'll be using interchangeably, and you will learn why is that. So this is very important. I'll share the comment, and I'll come back to this, because this will make sense why you're learning about this business. One, right away, right, to just help you with your curiosity, you will become a better negotiator. That's 100%. That's 100% true. You will become better negotiator if you're an independent freight dispatcher serving your carriers, and will be working with brokers. This is very important. So I do see a lot of comments coming in. I do see the real Tashi says, thank you for the invite. Absolutely, you're welcome. Adriana says hello, everybody. Hello. Good boy, he said hello. So Robertson, hello. I'll be taking questions right after. I'll go quickly. Please take notes. This is very, very important. Let me share something very important. This is one of our subscribers left the comment, and I do see a lot of comments like these. People asking questions like, we are making commissions, I don't think it's legal. Then there is a competition between independent freight dispatchers and brokers, and I see that a lot of people hating brokers. I'm not agreeing with that, but I don't know, maybe something you don't know about them. And speaking of knowing, not knowing, meaning the players in this business, this will help you, because if you know players in this business very well, meaning that deep dive into their business model and how they operate their business, this is very, very important. Frederick says, hello, Kamal, good to see you today. Awesome, good to see you, all of you guys. Thank you. So maybe if you know them, right, their business model, one, I shared already, you'll become better negotiators. And you guys, there's a lot of partnership involved. Adriana, hello. So this is very important. Let me share this, and then I think it will make sense. So this is one of our videos. And again, title for this video, if you wanted to look up, it's attention dispatchers, negotiating freight and negotiating rate. What's the difference between negotiating freight and negotiating rates? This is very important. And that was the title for the video. There you go. So this is the comment that we get a lot. So we will be talking about this. Once we finish, we'll be I'll be taking questions. Okay. So she says, it seems that brokers see independent dispatchers as competitors. Think about that way, right? So brokers think, based on this comment, is hey, brokers think that independent freight dispatcher, they're competitors. And I'll prove them wrong that it's absolutely not, right? If they do see, they will definitely, change, their mindset. So here's, what's happening. So it seems that brokers see independent dispatchers as competitor because their pay percentage is way higher than independent dispatcher. An independent dispatcher can work with shippers directly on behalf of a carrier, right? Representing a carrier. Some of you may be like, please don't. So we'll go into details. Let's finish this. Shippers directly on behalf of a carrier, owner operator, MC number, and cut out the broker who's making the most percentage. Think about, guys, and this is very important. Now, since we have this, and nothing wrong with this comment, and I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with this. I just, helping you guys to understand that brokers, most brokers that I know in general, I've been so long in this business, and I know that they don't consider independent freight dispatchers as competitors. They're not, and you will see. I'm about to reveal what you maybe don't know. If you know, then it's more power to you. You can share with everybody, but they don't see. They, meaning brokers, they don't see independent freight dispatchers as competitors, and they know why. And then there's some regulations I'll be sharing with you. So, and then the second part here is where brokers making the most percentage, but not the independent freight dispatchers. Even though independent freight dispatchers can represent owner-operators and carriers, representing these people, meaning using their MC and going after the shipper, saying, hey, we want to eliminate the broker and we want to work with you directly. I don't think, right? And you will see why is that, right? So we'll go into details. So let's talk about this, because this is very important. By the end of this video, guys, you will, and again, I definitely highly recommend taking notes. So I will prove in this video, and then I'll start taking questions. If you guys have questions, please hold on to your questions, then ask, and I'll do my best to help you. I'm with you today. I will be helping you. So we need to talk about the players. And again, there is a video in depth. I think it's about hour-long video talking about the players in this business. This is very, very important. If you want to come into this industry, which is $800 billion industry, so it's like, think about it, it's almost $1 trillion industry, right? There's a lot of money to be made in this industry. Please don't think that if you have about a couple of I don't know, truckers and carriers, and you're competing with these brokers that they're making millions, please don't. There's still a ton of money to be made if that motivates you, okay? We will be talking about, and I think the outcome, I think the goal should be, it's like, hey, please don't think that there is a competition between broker and independent freight dispatcher. Because I do see, I'm not going to mention the name of the brokerage companies. There, couple brokerage companies out there that they are against independent freight dispatching, but it doesn't mean that all the brokers that are against independent freight dispatchers, right? This is very important. Maybe you come up with, I don't know, article, blog post, or maybe you were looking for how to become independent freight dispatcher or broker or something like that. And you just, and you see there's a post talking about, independent freight dispatchers, they do business illegally, X, Y, and Z. Why not? Trust me, there are some brokerage companies that maybe 2 or 3 or something like that, right? It's less than 1%. To think about it that way, right? But majority of brokers, they don't think this way, right? Well, I'll be explaining this in details, and that will make sense. But I want you to change your mindset. Don't think they're like enemies. Like if you're a broker, don't think that dispatcher is a competitor. Don't see them as competitors, right? Think about partnership, how we can make money all together. Most of the brokerage companies, they think this way. But then there's independent freight dispatchers. They all the time over the phone talking to brokers and I need this money, and then this broker, it's not giving me the money that I want. Maybe you're missing something, but I'll be sharing with you. And as I said, I promise you that you will become a better negotiator. Once you learn this will help you. So I'll be talking about the independent freight dispatching business model, why it's important. If you want to go into being an independent freight dispatcher, this is very important. You will understand how this independent freight dispatching service business operates, what's the business model, so that you can declare to your state. And by the way, quick mighty disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a CPA. this is just like, it's not a business advice. This is just like for educational and entertainment purposes only. Please. Okay. So don't say I created a business because you said so. No. What I can say that don't trust anybody. You should hire a professional so that they can help you. Hiring a CPA, hiring a lawyer. I have my lawyers. I have a CPA. Okay. But please do your diligence and take it seriously. This is for, educational and information, purposes only. So you will learn the, business model for independent freight dispatchers. You also learn about, the business model for the brokerage company. Now, let's talk about the brokers first. Okay. So there is a broker, but before this, let's talk about the supply chain. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, meaning supply chain, please, because of this time, there's a lot to cover. You Google it, and then there's a lot of information on a Google or the internet you can learn. Type supply chain and please learn. This is very important if you're interested in, in the trucking or the transportation industry. This is very important. There is a supply chain, okay, and then there's the members of supply chain. This is very important. Think about there's a supply chain, and again, please Google it, supply chain, and then there will be, I do see there's a question about the double brokerage. I'll come back to this. I'll definitely come back to this. Please, hold on to your questions. I will come back. So there's a supply chain and there are members of supply chain. I'll keep it simple. Members is basically players. And again, why am I saying players? I want you to think about like business. It's like a game. Think about like Monopoly. It's a board game, but then it's obviously it's all about business, right? There's some rules, the things that you can do, you can't do, and then players. Very important. Think of it that way because that will make sense. It's very important. And by the way, I was attending a lot of masterminds over the years, and I see a lot of people that making millions and billions of dollars. They treat business as a game. Yes, that's true. You can read books, you can do research. That is a game, right? And obviously we'll come back to this game thing, but think about the supply chain for a minute, and then members of a supply chain. First, since we're talking about shippers, brokers, carriers, let's pull these members and let's talk about those. They're the shippers. Let's talk about, for those of you who don't know shippers basically, if you know shippers, no offense to you, I know it's basic, but there are some people they don't know. They're starting from scratch. I'm talking about like brokers, carriers, independent freight dispatchers. I'm using these, terminologies. Some people, trust me, out there, they get confused. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I never heard these like terminologies before. Please explain. And I'm explaining. Shippers, basically think about manufacturers, right? They're making, producing. Think about like, let's think about people who have loads. Think about it that way. I think this will help you. That's the first player in the supply chain. So this player, shipper, very, very important in the transportation industry because they made something. Now they need logistics services, meaning they need to move this from point A to point B. What's the point A and what's the point B? Point A is basically I have these loads in my warehouse. I need to move them out. I sold them to who? To customer. Now this must move from my warehouse to the customer's warehouse. Since I'm very busy, right? So I'm like always in this manufacturing, like I'm hiring people. I'm like very busy with my business. Think about it this way. And then obviously now we need to move this. To me as a shipper, it makes sense to work with carriers. Think about truckers. Truckers meaning people who own trucks, big semi trucks out there that are moving loads, right? So it makes sense. Hey, if this guy is a carrier, he owns trucks. And then these are the shippers in the supply chain. Remember, first player, they making stuff. They own the loads. So I'm a carrier, and I don't know, have 5, 6, 7 trucks. Now it makes sense to work with these people, meaning shippers. And then obviously these people, carriers, right? They're very busy. They're buying trucks. They're hiring drivers. They get it's trust me, you get hectic. It's very, very capital intensive business, right? It's capital intensive business. It's brutally competitive business. For those of you who like, if you're thinking or planning to go into the trucking, please, I have a couple of videos, please watch. It's very important. Now, since these people own loads, have loads, and carriers, they have trucks, and both of them, they busy, right? And then there's some, middleman comes into play. Who? Think about brokers, right? So brokers basically saying, hey, you own loads, just do whatever you want to do. I know you're really good at producing, just like make stuff. That's it, period. What I'll do is that I will go and find carriers. So this is the middle part. This is very important. I know I'm explaining it like a fifth grade, but trust me, it will get really, really complex when we go into the business models. So these people also come in and saying, hey, I'll be connecting you guys. Now, let's talk about the independent freight dispatchers. And again, I'm not talking about business models yet. We're just identifying the supply chain members or players, if you will, on the supply chain. So independent freight dispatch, what do you think? So they can't come in between shippers and carriers. Why? Why they can't do that? Well, because they don't have MC number, right? They don't own MC numbers. But there's a catch. But then independent freight dispatchers can use carrier's MC number and then could go and contact with the shipper saying, hey, you have loads in my carrier. Or, well, again, let me take back, because independent freight dispatchers, they can't say my carrier. It's basically he or she is a carrier. Why is that? Because carrier and independent freight dispatcher, they're like, it's like a team play, right? So carriers give them limited power of attorney. I think this is something that you need to take notes. It's very important. Maybe you want to Google it. The limited power of attorney, in a simple way of explaining this, is basically carrier gives them limited power to use, carrier's company. So then independent freight dispatcher, think about, in a way, he or she becomes a carrier. Think about that way. If I'm an independent freight dispatcher, I'm contracting with the carrier, and I sign the contract, right? So I'm representing this carrier, but what's happening? I'm becoming a carrier. How? Because this, legally, we bind it legally, and because of this document. What's the document? Document is dispatcher carrier agreement. So we just agreed that carrier gave me the limited power of attorney to use his company. So now I'm using his company. Now I just became a carrier. Think about that way. It logically makes sense. Yes, you absolutely not 100% becoming a carrier, but now you are a carrier, right? So now, do you see that, like, brokers, they don't have the company? That's the first point, right? Brokers in this place, they can't see you as a competitor. One, you don't have an MC number. Two, you're representing a carrier. Simply, you are the carrier. So a broker, I'm working with you. See that? Now there's no competition. I know you guys thinking about the commission that will be coming into the commission. This is very important. Now we're slightly moving into the business model and why shippers prefer working with brokers. Think about it this way. So now and again, coming back to the supply chain, right? So then supply chain members, we talked about shippers, we talked about brokers, carriers and independent freight dispatchers. Let's keep them in the game. So what's happening now? Shippers and carriers in between the brokers, freight brokers. They are, freight forwarders. They are brokers as well, but we're not going into details. They're a little bit different, operating their business differently. So then these brokers come into the game. Again, this is very important. So their business models. The business models is basically how they operate their business. Why is so important to know how they operate their business? And again, coming back to what? If you know how they operate, you have the negotiation power. You know where the money is. This is where we're going to, right? So now the broker coming into how many? Two. There are some other, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 business models, right? And I do see a lot of my friends and families, and then they're into this two business model. They fall into these two business models. One, maybe you guys heard of this. One business model. Ready? This is very important. Buy and sell model, also known as Chicago model. And again, not going into details. I want to compare to these two. It's very important. It will make sense in a minute when I start talking about the second business model. This is very, very important. I know, guys, you have a lot of questions. Please bear with me. So, buy and sell model for brokers, and again, this is very important. Buy and sell, or the Chicago model, the state Chicago, right? Think about it that way. Chicago model. This is where I want you to think about like scale. Think about. I'll come back. Just think this way. Relax. I know it's a lot of information. I told you, take notes. It's very important. So think about scale for a moment. Now, there is second business model. This is very, very important. There's C2G model. Think about that way. I'm not going to mention the name, and maybe you will be, researching it. This is what I want actually. So I want you to research. C2G model is basically, I want you to think about like start to finish model. Maybe you're kind of confused. Maybe there's a lot of information, but trust me, some people charging thousands of dollars to reveal this information. I want you to take notes. It's very important. C2G model is basically from start to finish. Remember, buy and sell model was think about scale. Then C2G model, think about having less, right? Having less customers, less carriers, less shippers. Think about quality, right? Just think about quality. And also, I want you to think about buy and sell model. Think about quantity. This is very important. Quantity, all about numbers. So C2G model, right? From start to finish model, this is where I want you to think about quality, right? You got that? So you got that? It's very important. Quantity, quality, but also buy and sell. The buy and sell model also for the scale. So this is very important. Now, for a moment, let's switch and talk about independent freight dispatch since we're comparing them, right? And what's the goal? That there is no connection in between these. There's no competition, right? So brokers out there, just relax. We all friends. So this is very important. Okay, now independent freight dispatcher. If you interested in becoming an independent freight dispatcher, or I don't know, maybe you are an independent freight dispatcher, remember this. This is very important. The structure, the business model for independent freight dispatchers, ready? Management/team model. And again, this will make sense in a minute, but think about it. If you're taking notes, it's very important. Brokers, buy and sell Chicago model, all about scale. C2G model, start to finish. One is quantity, the other one is, what is it? Quantity, quality, right? So independent freight dispatcher is management/team model. This is very important, and because we'll be talking about what's the motivation behind each model. So this is very important. Now let's compare buy and sell or the Chicago model to C2G model, which is, and again, we're talking about brokers that they start to finish, the quantity and quality. Why buy and sell model? This is where the negotiation power comes in. This is where you need to learn as an independent freight dispatcher, as a carrier. This is very important. So buy and sell model, why I said that it's all about scalability, it's all about scale, all about numbers, because they're moving quickly. They're serving hundreds of thousands of carriers. They're serving hundreds of shippers. How they do that, right? And that's the name, buy and sell model, right? Why is it? Because they will have what we call army of operation, right? Their operation side of the business. They will have army of people working inside the brokerage company, moving pieces. There are a lot of moving pieces, right? So then there another important the aspect of this is the sales department. See that now? Operation, there's army of people, in the operation department. Think about now sales department. Think about, like, imagine hundreds of people sitting over the phone, talking to carriers, talking to shippers. Can you imagine that? Hundreds of people. And I've seen this. I have seen it. It's a true thing. It's like I've seen this. They're like, you'll be amazed, like hundreds of people sitting over the phone, closing deals. This, like, unbelievable. Right? So this is a brokerage company. Now think that you're going against you, right? So I want you to, like, think about partnership rather than just like enemies, right? So then the third aspect of it is the marketing department. Army of people, hundreds of people just focused on marketing side of the business. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine for a second you have a company, brokerage company, operation side of the business, you have hundreds of people. Think about 300 people, right? Now, so then think about the sales department, the people closing deals over the phone, hundreds of people, right? And then the marketing department, they have hundreds of people just marketing. All three of these three, what is it? The departments working 24/7, 365, nonstop. See that? So this is the process in it. This is like this all about numbers, scale, right? So think about when they post loads, buy and sell model brokers, very important. I could have like just gone really quickly to the point, but I think you need to understand this and why you will make more money with this business model. Have you seen? I want you to think about if you're an independent freight dispatcher, maybe you're a broker, maybe you're a carrier, specifically carrier or independent freight dispatcher. Have you seen that a load and you're talking to broker or the brokerage company? They're nice, they're ready to go, they're fast, and they agree whatever you say. And usually, this is where you get a lot of money from them. They usually make less money. Why? Scalability. Think about numbers, right? Even if they like taking maybe, I don't know, $50, $20 off of a load, think about they like loads for them must go. Now, when you know this, right? When you know this, somebody says C2F or C2G. It's C2G. G is in Georgia. Okay. So when these people buy and sell model posting loads, loads must go. Okay. Loads must go. They don't sit and negotiate with you. Usually, what's happening when you're talking to the broker or the broker agent, like, hey, I'm calling about this load. And I'm like, yeah, do you have trucks? Yes. And I'm like, okay. And then there is a rate posted, and I'm like, okay, I want this. Maybe independent freight dispatcher counter offering, and done. We need to move that load. See that? Why? Because of the scalability, right? It's like there are hundreds of people, right? Working in loads must go. They're serving hundreds of carriers, hundreds of shippers. I just want you to think that way. Okay. When they post, you have the power. You make a lot of money. Then when it comes to C2G model, they're start to finish. This is where the business model is, there's an owner and there will be an broker agent and maybe a couple of people that helping run the operation. This is where they serve less carriers and less shippers, because they're limited, although they can expand their business, but there is a disadvantage to this. They could have they can lose the shippers. And how so? It's when, like, if I'm doing C2G model, and again, remember, it's like from start to finish. Meaning, if you are a shipper, then what I do, I just basically take your logistics from A to Z, from start to finish. You know me, right? Personally. So in the buy and sell model, no, it's like scale. We serve a lot of people, a lot of businesses. See that? So when these people post, since they're all about quality, they will be charging more and then they will stick right to the price point. For example, if there is a load coming, from a shipper, ABC shipping services, for example, and then there's a broker, and that load goes from Atlanta, Georgia to Houston, Texas for 5,000, and then broker's like, okay, I can take that, and I'll post for, I don't know, 3,800 or maybe 4K because this load, must move. And then think about like broker now, and again, these numbers are just like I made up these numbers. Just bring a point, okay? So then they will post the load, and then Katie will be calling saying, hey, I just want X, Y, and Z. Like, I'm not taking it for 3,800. Can you do 45? And they will, no, we can't do that. The most I can go, maybe I can add a couple hundreds. That's it. I can bring up to 1,000. That's it. You want to pick it up? Just go ahead and pick it up. See that? So then now game is, this is how you differentiate between good dispatchers and, no, let me take back. Let's say professional dispatchers and beginners. Let's say that way, right? So professional dispatchers, the only difference why they make more money, because they know how to identify these C2, start to finish model, C2G model, and the buy and sell model. They can identify. Maybe you don't know, maybe you puzzled how come. But trust me, the people can identify them real quickly, and then they will be playing with them accordingly, meaning negotiate them accordingly. So hope that helps. Okay. So now coming down to this, we talked about the structure. Please, if you just joined, please go back. I'll post this video. You will take a look. But then second, this is very important. I've seen, debates over the YouTube that a lot of people talking about, like, because they're commissions, that it's illegal, there will be some, legal consequences, X, Y, and Z. I'm just laughing. Trust me. I'm like, wow, this dude seems like, he's smart, but then I don't know, like, man, you need to do like more reading, right? So what I mean by that, when it comes to commission, and again, the whole point here is to like learn about the business models, and one of the reasons why you want to learn is because you want to become a better negotiator, right? Better business owner. So the commission, everybody talks about commission. Brokers make commissions, independent freight dispatchers make commissions, and I say no. Dispatchers, they don't make commissions. And a lot of my students will confuse if they're watching right now. Like, what are you talking about? You taught us that there will be a 3%, 5%, 6%, 10%, 15%, 20% charge. And this is how you, craft your offer. And this is how you sell. This is how you market. And this is how we close a deal. Come on, what are you talking about? Not the commission that you're thinking. The commission that you're thinking is, think about, if you're thinking that brokers, let's take step by step because this is very important. If you're thinking that brokers buy the load, because I had this conversation with a couple of my students and I told them that this is wrong. Don't think this way, because if they buy the load and then they sell to the carrier, is basically they are in the resale business. They're not reselling it. This is basically they talking to shipper, agreeing on a load, and then obviously agreeing with the shipper. Do you want to take this load? This is my cut, whatever. And then they're making commission. What's left off? Think about it that way, right? So because of my services, I charge this, and that is the commission. And by the way, they are tens of different types of commissions. By the way, just look up, you will realize that, oh wow, I was saying like commissions, but they're different types of commissions. Okay, so the dispatcher that you think, they're not the same commission that you're thinking. If you're thinking the commission that this shipper, this independent freight dispatcher representing a carrier, or just representing himself and using his MC number and going out and finding a shipper and talking to him and then representing his business, and he makes percentage, that's legally impossible. If you're doing that, that is a double brokering. So there are different types of double brokering, by the way, but there was a question. So you can't do that legally. You can't do that. Okay, so I mentioned, I'll come back to this commission. This is because it's very important. I remember, in the beginning, I said that why shippers prefer working with independent freight dispatchers. I mean, with the brokers. Remember that? Shippers prefer working with brokers for one reason only. And there's one reason only, not two, not three, not 10, just one. What is it? Brokers simply, they have army of carriers. So think about, if I'm a broker, I have, I don't know, 600 carriers on my list. Okay, so if I can post a load or email to my carriers, probability of booking that load is high, right? This is very important. So then shipper, like, okay, if I work with carriers directly, eliminating the broker, by the way, shippers, they don't want this, right? Well, let me take back. Some they do, some they don't. Think about that way, okay? So then majority, they prefer working with the brokers, even though they know the consequences, they know the process, what's working, what's not working, right? Advantages and disadvantages, but we're not going into details. But shippers, they prefer working with brokers. One of the reasons, they're really good at marketing. If you're really good at marketing, and there was a question like, I want to become, I think today we have like 2 emails. It's very important. We're like, that was very straightforward. If you want to become a broker, if you're like, can I can I be a broker? I want to start my brokerage company. Before you do that, think about this way: are you good at marketing? There was a question. How you find the shippers. The way I find the shippers, like I'm using, obviously, like I'm marketing, and I'm also in the import export business. It's kind of easy for me to find those shippers. So think about, if you want to go and become a broker, ask this question, right? Are you good at marketing? Do you know ins and outs of marketing? And second important question, what about sales? Do you have sales skills, techniques? Trust me, if you don't, then you don't need, you don't want to become a broker. Trust me, you don't, right? So, okay, and again, that will be, topic for another day. This is very important, but then, let's come back to commission. So then, what about the commission, and why I'm saying like the commission you're thinking the independent freight dispatchers charge is different. So let's talk about the base, the commission base, the broker's work and the motivation behind it, and then we talk about the independent freight dispatchers. You can call them truck dispatchers, right? If that makes sense. So because a lot of people will confuse, like, come on, what's the difference between independent freight dispatcher and truck dispatcher, or just a dispatcher, or freight agent, or something like that? But there is a video. We'll come back to this. So for the broker, there's a commission based, obviously. There's a shipper. And again, coming back to this, supply chain. And again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please Google it. Supply chain, members of supply chain. There's a shipper, there's a broker, there's a carrier, there's independent freight dispatchers. So broker, comes between shipper and carrier. Talking to a shipper, broker, right? And again, we talked about these different business models, and coming in and saying, hey, this load goes from point A to point B. So you are offering, I don't know how much, 4,000, something like that. I'm just, making it simple. Okay. So the conversation may be different, but I'm bringing a point, right? And I'm making it simple so that we can all understand. So then, okay, so if you like, it's for 4,000, then now let me find, a carrier, and I'll, say, okay, let me see what carrier says. Let's say that way. And then it comes to the carriers, and hey, I have a load goes, from Atlanta to Houston, Texas, and it pays 3,500. Oh, carrier may say maybe 37 or something like that. And then like the broker goes back to the shipper, says, hey, listen, there's a carrier willing to pick this load, but I want 4,000. Okay, I agree. Give me that load, and then I'll take that load and then assign to the carrier. And like load was 4,000. and then I dispatched for, I don't know, 3,800, and I keep the $200. So this is basically, how it works, right? And that $200 is the commission. I didn't buy and sell because it's a resell, and definitely it's not the business. It's not the right business model for the broker, right? Although it's scalable, but I don't know if there's different ways of conducting that business. I'm not a broker, so if there are brokers watching, please help. So, and then what about dispatchers? Coming back to dispatchers. So if the broker's commission based, what about independent freight dispatchers? Don't they charge percentage, right? Think about independent freight dispatchers. They're not commission based, guys. Some of you may confuse about this, but again, it's not the commission based. Okay, so what is it then? It's the profit sharing base. And you can Google it. You can do whatever you want. You can just work on this. You can do research on this. What is it? What's the motivation? Remember, we said we'll be talking about the base, then we'll be talking about the motivation. The commission based, think about brokers. When I say commission, brokers comes into mind. Then think about the motivation behind is money, a lot of money. If I'm a broker, I don't care about carriers. The only thing I care, a lot of money. Makes sense. Why? Because it's like I'm serving these people, meaning carriers, and I have hundreds of carriers. I can't think like I have an army of carriers, right? The only thing, yes, I'm giving them work, but then the only thing I'm thinking is obviously my business and then my shippers. This is very important. See that? So it's all about broker shipper relationship, so to speak, if that makes sense. Now, what about then independent freight dispatchers? Independent freight dispatchers, as we said, the profit sharing base. And what's the motivation behind? If I'm an independent freight dispatcher, and if you guys out there independent freight dispatchers, please confirm. What do? You want your carriers make more money. Why? Why you want that? Because if I'm a carrier, I make more money with you, then what you do, you at the same time making more money with me. I'll give you an example. I'm a carrier. I have independent freight dispatchers. Like, okay, this month we made $1 million gross revenue. Well, guys, we all made this money. Not only me, you independent freight dispatcher, you independent freight dispatcher, Jason, you independent freight dispatcher. You guys help me. Now what I'm doing, I'm sharing my profit. Okay. Now I'm asking questions. Like if I have $1 million in front of me, now I need to share with my team members, subcontractors, think about that way. And then I need to share this money with my team members, contractors. And what I do is like, okay, I'll be sharing, because of my agreement, I'll be sharing 10% of this. That's the percentage comes in, right? The language or the term they use is basically the profit that I have. What's the percentage I'm taking out and giving away, so to speak, if that makes sense, given to my, independent freight dispatchers. This commission thing, a lot of people get confused about this, and then they just disagreeing with each other. Broker misunderstood this, and he's like, oh, independent freight dispatcher sounds like they're my competitors, right? No, it's all about partnership. We all partners working in this industry. By the way, $800 billion industry. Why to look at like we are enemies? I don't know. Think about if you're a carrier and you're like, oh, brokers make a lot of money. I'm telling you, I have a lot of friends and families in this business model. Sometimes they paying out of pocket to move that load. See that? I'm not saying that I'm like I'm all with brokers or I'm against brokers. No, I don't say that. This is how I operate, and this is I'm educated. I'm sharing my knowledge with people. So shippers, now this, you can rewatch this, and now you can't say that, oh, shipper, you're giving away to your brokers. And now you know it makes sense to a shipper work with broker. Why? Because broker has army of carriers. Makes sense. If one carrier fails, second carrier fails, my broker has a lot of carriers. I don't care. My load will be moved. So why not independent freight dispatchers go out representing a carrier, saying, hey, I work with with this carrier and I'm representing him. Let's do business. First thing, legally, they can't do that. They can't say I'm representing, right? So now you're like intermediary, like you are in between. Now there's a broker, there's a shipper, there's a broker, there's a carrier, and then you are in between. No, if you do that, that's illegal. You can't do that. You can't represent a carrier and saying that you're representing a carrier. That means when you say representing, that means you have a business. What type of business you are? Like you have? Oh, independent freight dispatching business. That's illegal. Why? Because you don't have MC number. Why MC number? Broker's MC number. Why? I'm not a carrier. No, if you're not a carrier, then you need, broker's MC number, right? You need what they like broker's license to say that. Because you can't represent like this shippers, you can't represent, carriers. And this is why shippers, I mean, the independent freight dispatchers, they can't just go and say, hey, I'm representing. What they do is like when they call shippers, they're saying, hey, if they're representing my company, so to speak, if we teamed up, right, legally bind it because of the dispatcher carrier agreement, right? And they will, when they call on the sales call with the shipper, trying to win the shipper's business, they'll be saying what? They'll be saying my business name, which is Prime Express. Hey, I'm calling on behalf of my Prime Express. I'm calling on behalf of the Prime Express. We're out of this, Atlanta, Georgia. We do X, Y, and Z. We are in the flatbed market. See, now this independent freight dispatcher on my behalf representing my company. Yes, that's the representation part comes in. It's not that he's like going out and representing my company saying, hey, I'm an independent freight dispatcher. I have carriers. Let's connect. This business model is illegal. Independent freight dispatcher, they can't do that. Awesome. I hope this, makes sense. I hope this, helps. Guys, this is very important. I really, really wanted to, share this because like, I'm really tired, emailing, over the phone, talking to, even my friends, they, misunderstood this. A lot of people just like independent freight dispatching, they misunderstood about how the business model works. Guys, you guys need to go into details. Like, what's the business model? Think about being a carrier. There are different, business models. Maybe you're thinking like, hey, I want to buy a truck and now I'm trucker. I'm like in the trucking industry. Yes, you are. But then what about your business model? How you operate? Right. This is very, very important, guys. I do see a lot of questions will be coming into the like taking questions. Please let me know. Do you guys like this type of lecture? I don't really like to do lecturing. I really wanted to share. That's some people will say like, Kamal, your lectures are so long. I'm not lecturing. To be honest with you, I'm like sharing with you. To me, when I see that they're like questions coming in, it's like, oh, there's some people participating. There's some people interacting with me. I feel like, we're just part of the family and then we just, talking. And again, guys, if you want to learn in depth, just reach out to me. And I'm not teaching, how to become, a broker, right? At least we can navigate. And if you want to become a carrier, then let us know. But we, specialize in, teaching people how to become independent freight dispatchers. So let me take a couple of questions. Guys, there are a lot of questions. By the way, thank you for these questions. I will take a couple and then we'll see what we can do. Let's see. Let me take this. Hi, Kamal. Hi. I'm a new student of you. Welcome to the family. I already, new and worked for one company as a dispatcher, but I do not and cannot get leads. So I took your course and I have a question about funnels. Absolutely. So if you are a student, there is the private Facebook group for paid students. Please, if you receive that email, join, and we have coaching calls Mondays and Thursdays. I'll take your questions in details. So let's see. Let me see if we have. I think double brokerage we already talked about. Let me see. Let me take this question real quick. John Gear says the reason of this misbelief is that there is money limitation in both cases, so they just meet somewhere in the middle. Average of 2 limits. Not sure about this, but there are a lot of money to be made. Be honest with you. Not sure about the question, but please, if you can rephrase, I can definitely take that. This is another question. Is it the C2F or C2G model? Is C2G model, not the F. So let me see. And again, if you have specific questions about, like, brokerage, being a carrier, let me see. Let's take this one. So broker's job is harder than dispatching. Think about this way. Dispatching, this, by the way, it's a great question. Dispatching, it's a word, or let's analyze this term. I want to just really want to go into this. When somebody says dispatching, this is what they mean when they say dispatching. Dispatching, they're like, think about 3 ingredients, if you will. One is finding loads using load boards. Second ingredient is booking loads. Booking is actually when you found the load, you call the broker and you negotiated the load, right? Now, third is actually dispatching the load. Dispatching meaning you take the documents that you receive from brokers and you just like sending to your, carrier or the driver saying, hey, we need to pick up this load, and it delivers within 2 days, whatnot. That is dispatching. So brokers, they do dispatching? Absolutely, they do. Absolutely, they do. But about 90% of the brokers, they focus on marketing and sales. This is very important. Marketing and sales. Marketing and sales is not the same thing. It's totally different things, right? Marketing is different world. Sales is different world. Okay. Some people, use them interchangeably. And marketing means sales and marketing, but marketing is different. So they focus on marketing and sales, meaning advertising, getting carriers, getting shippers on board and closing them, right? But then brokers, agents, they do the dispatching. You can call them dispatchers as well, right? And majority of people that are independent freight dispatchers talking to, not the brokers, the freight agent. Another way of saying it is a dispatcher talking to a dispatcher. That's what it is. Okay? So you're rarely talking to a broker because broker is very busy. She or he, very busy finding carriers, and clientele basically is very important, meaning the shippers. So, but they do both. Okay? So let's see. Let me take this. Lady says brokers are more competitive and it's harder than dispatching, in my opinion. Okay, so we just talked about dispatching, and the harder part is obviously if you want to become, now if you're interested in becoming a broker, now you like, okay, there's 2 business model. Now I learned this. Okay, cool. So which one, right? So I think most of you are becoming independent. I mean, the brokers or interested in becoming a broker, they will be going into C2G model, right? Meaning quality, meaning less carriers, less shippers. It's about 2 to 3 people working in this company. Think about it that way. But the buy and sell model is, think about scale. Think about hundreds of people. Okay? So they do dispatching, but the harder part is the marketing. Okay? There are a lot of people teaching independent freight dispatching, whatnot, a lot of people. But then there are a couple, 2 or 3 people, stand out. Why? They're really good at marketing. They're promoting their services. They're really good at promoting it. Why Landstar? Why XPO Logistics? Why? Right? Why is that? Because they're really good at marketing. Right? And by the way, the business model is slightly different, but that's what it is. Cool. Good information. This is Karina. This is very informative. Thanks. You're welcome. Let's see. Okay. Okay. So this is very important. Exactly. Skills mean everything in this business. Totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. Let's take this. Finding owner operators is killing mine right now. Any tips? I have a lot of videos. I'm not going into those. Well, wow, it's almost 60 minutes. So there are a lot of videos I highly recommend watching. There are a lot of videos about how you can find your carriers. So let me see. Absolutely right. That's why it's important to negotiate dispatches. Awesome. So we'll take Paul's question. I think I should deal with brokers straight to myself instead of middleman called a dispatcher. And again, so this is like what you call like a middleman. Maybe you didn't watch the entire video, meaning the live training. You can call the dispatcher, in a middleman. But if that makes you happy, we can definitely say that. So, but they're not middlemen. So let's see. Let's take this one. Sophia says, because if they make more money, you make more money. Yes, I agree. I think you mean like if the carrier makes more money, dispatchers make more money. Absolutely, yes. Okay, so let's see. Let me take this one. I think lady says something to Paul. I worked for a large supply chain company. The carrier record is very important. Yes. Infractions, how long you've been in driving, etc. Kind of like Amazon Freight. Okay, cool. So let me see. Okay, I'll take this question. Arsh says, what do you think will happen to the industry, dispatcher and freight broker once? Okay. Or automation. This is a common question. IA, by the way, people, if you don't know, guys, it stands for artificial intelligence. So intelligence. So, I had this, opinion. What will happen for dispatchers, freight brokers, if you really, like looking into the future and what will happen, and like you really into like thinking what will happen in the future. I think we'll get there, but what will happen for sure that dispatchers and freight brokers will be making money. That's for sure. That's what it is. So, and then obviously those people who are pushing this automation, artificial intelligence, whatnot, they'll be making money too. So I'm more concerned of like we need to make more money. That's what it is. So guys, and again, thank you so much. There are a lot of good questions. I don't want to just hold anymore because it's like about 60 minutes. I really appreciate, in average, about 60 people were watching. This is, to me, means everything. So if you have any questions, there's an email address. Please, reach out to me, ask any questions you want. So, and again, I highly recommend joining the Facebook group, because Wednesdays we'll be doing live training. Then every Tuesday I'll be like going into like my group, and then we'll be doing live training like this. So you don't want to miss. That is the group. Please go to Facebook, type Dispatch Trucks. You will see the group name, Dispatch Trucks, the same logo, right? What is it here, there? So let me see. Other than that, I think we're good to go. Thank you so much, guys. Let's meet on next Wednesday, same time. I'll be posting, look for the email from me. That will be awesome. And then guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, like this video. It helps my channel. We've been growing. Thank you so much. We're a big family. I appreciate your time. Thank you, and I will see you next Wednesday. Thank you.